There's a high surf advisory through tomorrow. We're live from the beach with a look at the waves.
Larry Millette in court today pleading guilty to a charge unrelated to Maya's murder. We'll explain why he was here.
A San Diego museum is giving you the chance to get slimed during Comic-Con.
Alex Yu can't travel the world, but his music can. How he just released a new album titled Never Give Up.
We begin tonight with a live look along the coast where you'll want to be careful in the water as a high surf advisory is in effect right now and it runs through tomorrow. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Carlo Cicchetto.
I'm Marcella Lee. Meteorologist Sean Stiles is standing by with a first look at just how long the conditions might stick around. But we begin with News 8's Alex Cheney, who's live from Tourmaline Beach with how things are looking right now. Alex?
Hey there, we are feeling the effects of post-tropical storm Eleta here in the San Diego area with that high surf advisory out there. Not stopping all these folks from going out here and enjoying the beach today and getting in on some of those waves. Well, it's important to always be sure you're experienced before getting out there in the water. Here's more. The National Weather Service says waves are expected to reach 4 to 7 feet, with some sets as high as 8 feet at south and southwest facing beaches. The biggest concern isn't just the surf. It's the powerful rip currents and longshore currents that can quickly pull people away from the shore.
Surf is pretty big. It's coming up. We got some hurricane swell in the water, so there's a little rip from south to north going on, so you just got to be careful where you're at and looking at where you're at on the beach.
Even with the rough conditions, plenty of people were still hitting the water. Nathan's daughter, Charlie, enjoyed the bigger waves.
They're pretty big. I caught a couple green water waves, and it was fun.
Surf instructor Fernando says days like this require a different approach. For beginners, he keeps lessons much closer to the shore.
It's just a little bit scary for the kids, but if you have like a little experience, it's fun.
One of his students, Julian, was surfing for the very first time today.
It's really fun. I mean, it's my first time, so I'm still getting used to it, but I think it's definitely really fun. I definitely haven't gotten every single wave, but it's still fun. I'm just doing my best.
And Lonnie, who's been surfing Bird Rock for 40 years, says if you're inexperienced, don't go too far out into the water.
Stay closer to shore if you really don't have the experience. Even the rip today is enough to get your attention, so be careful out there. Have a lot of fun. Always have fun at the beach.
Well, that's a very important lesson. So if you know you're inexperienced in the water, just maybe stay closer to the shore for the meantime. But if you are experienced, go ahead and enjoy those waves out there. The high surf advisory runs through tomorrow night. Reporting live, I'm Alex Cheney. Back over to you.
Thanks so much, Alex. For more on that surf advisory, let's turn now to meteorologist Sean Stiles.
He's in for Carlene tonight, shares how much longer that advisory is expected to be in play. And Sean, we were talking about it earlier, makes it even worse. The water's so tempting to get into right now because it is so warm.
Yeah, the water's running at about 70 to 71 degrees. This rip current risks are high because the bottom got torn up by those big south swells we saw a couple weeks ago. And now we've got this high surf advisory, which will last through tomorrow at 11 p.m. Now, many of the beaches in San Diego face in a west or northwesterly direction, so they're not seeing the brunt of this, but as you saw in the background with Alex there, plenty of activity in the water. And the further you go north, up around Oceanside, Carlsbad, they're seeing the solid 4 to 5 foot sets rolling through. Orange County, though, that's where you're going to see the biggest waves, up around the Wedge, Newport Beach, and also in northern San Diego County at Trestles. They're looking at some pretty big waves. Another storm, Tropical Storm Fausto, is about to turn into a hurricane, and that will head out into the Pacific, sending more waves our way. This is Eleta right here, turning post-tropical, heading up to the central coast of California. As far as our surf is concerned for tomorrow, the swell will fade 2 to 4 feet with some 5 foot sets, but we're going to still see some high risk on those rip currents. The tide goes high at just before 4 o'clock at 3:58, a 4.9. And with more water pushing up on the beach, it'll make the rip currents that much stronger. We'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Sean. And as always, you can find an extended weather forecast on the CBS 8 app, and you can stream it now for free. A traffic alert for tonight. If you live in North County, Caltrans is reducing southbound traffic on Interstate 5 to only one lane. Here's a look at the closure on your screen right there. You can see the map. The lane closure stretches from State Route 56 to the 805 split. Crews will be making pavement repairs. The westbound 56 connector to southbound Interstate 5 will also close overnight with detours in place. The closures begin in less than 2 hours from now at 8 p.m. and will last until 5 tomorrow morning.
Larry Millette was back in court today, and this time our cameras were allowed inside. This was supposed to be a status conference related to a weapons charge, but things took an unexpected turn with a guilty plea.
News 8's Steve Price was in court for today's hearing and joins us live with details. Steve.
So, Marcella and Carlo, the same judge who did not allow our cameras in the courtroom for Larry Millette's murder trial is actually the same judge who let us have a camera in court for today's hearing. He says the difference is that this didn't involve a jury. Well, now it turns out this isn't even going to have a trial.
Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give before this court is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
Larry Millette in court this afternoon for the first time since a jury convicted him of murder for killing his wife, Maya Millette.
Have you had any drugs or alcohol in the past 24 hours that would affect your ability to understand what's happening right now?
No, Your Honor.
Today's hearing centered around the cache of firearms police say Millette kept in his home, which they say included illegal assault weapons. Police said they also found this photo on Millette's cell phone showing his then 4-year-old son on a kitchen table surrounded by firearms and ammunition. Millette originally pleaded not guilty to unlawfully possessing an assault weapon, but today he changed his mind.
All right, how do you plead to a violation of Penal Code Section 30605, subsection A? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
And so it makes you guilty you unlawfully possessed an assault weapon. Is that true?
Yes, Your Honor.
According to a petition for a gun violence restraining order obtained by News 8, Millette once possessed 8 guns with known serial numbers and 14 additional firearms with unknown serial numbers, including assault rifles.
You understand that the maximum possible punishment for this crime is 3 years in custody, a $10,000 fine, and 4 years of parole or post-release community supervision. You understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Millette's hearing took place at the same courthouse where just 2 weeks ago, a jury deliberating for less than a full day convicted him of first-degree murder for killing Maya. Her body still hasn't been recovered. Today, the judge scheduled Millette's sentencing on both cases for September 29th. He faces 25 years to life for Maya's murder. After today's hearing, Maya's sister sent News 8 a statement saying in part, "Honestly, it feels like another weight has finally been lifted. Knowing that sentencing is finally set brings a sense that we're one step closer to closing this chapter."
And Mary Chris also said in that statement that her family's work is not over. They still want to make sure they find Maya's body. As they put it, she needs to be laid to rest with the love and the dignity that she deserves. We'll send it back to you in the studio.
Thanks for those developments, Steve. There's a little more than 3 months left until the November election, when Californians will pick between either a Democrat or a Republican to replace Governor Gavin Newsom.
And a new poll is shedding light on where the race stands right now. News 8 State Matters political reporter Jenny Huff breaks it all down for us.
Political analysts say June's primary could be a preview of November. Turnout hit 41%, one of the highest for a California gubernatorial primary. Becerra led the field with 28% of the vote, followed by Hilton with 25%. Analysts expect even more voters to turn out this fall.
In one word, what would you describe the current state of the race?
Predictable. Anybody who's engaged in politics in California will tell you that this governor's race is predictably what the PPIC poll showed.
That latest poll on the California gubernatorial race by the nonpartisan Public Policy Institute of California shows Democrat Javier Becerra leading Republican Steve Hilton 61% to 36% among likely voters.
That kind of lead is very familiar in statewide races in California.
California remains a deeply blue state, with Democrats holding a nearly 2-to-1 advantage over Republicans in voter registration. In fact, a Republican hasn't won statewide office since Arnold Schwarzenegger was governor. The poll also shows voters are largely sticking with their parties. 93% of Democrats back Becerra, while 90% of Republicans support Hilton. And the primary election results showed just that.
When we go from primary electorate to the general electorate, we expect one big change, and that's turnout.
Election data expert Paul Mitchell says primary voters are often the most partisan and engaged. Now in the general election, we can expect more independent, young, and Latino voters.
Independents are not so independent anymore.
Experts note independents, while not partisan on paper, reflect the politics of where they live. The PPIC poll shows independent voters lean towards Becerra by nearly double.
We have these sort of different climates of state politics and different flavors, even within Republican Party and within the Democratic Party.
Mitchell's new tool breaks down primary results by county. Some were expected, Mitchell says, like progressive Bay Area Democrat Tom Steyer winning Alameda, Marin, San Francisco, and Santa Barbara counties. But strategic voting was in play as voters on both sides clutched onto their ballots.
And this hidden candidate was, oh my gosh, no candidate from my party is going to make the runoff.
And so experts say Democrats debated between likely advancers Becerra and Steyer, opting for Becerra, and Republicans for Hilton rather than Chad Bianco.
Some counties, like more conservative Central Valley counties where you would have expected Chad Bianco to do better, Hilton ended up winning there.
In response to the PPIC poll, the Becerra campaign tells us they're keeping their eyes on the prize. The Hilton campaign, meantime, pointed to their internal poll, countering the race remains highly competitive and wide open. Jenny Hupp, News 8.
Thank you, Jenny. A fire that forced evacuations and briefly shut down Interstate 8 in Far East County is now fully contained. The Thorn Fire broke out last Wednesday in Boulevard. It burned more than 1,200 acres and damaged or destroyed 4 buildings. No injuries were reported. That's the good news. The cause of the fire still not known. After nearly a year of construction, CAL FIRE leaders are celebrating the grand reopening of their Ramona Air Attack Base.
The upgrades include a rebuilt tarmac and new retardant loading bays, specifically designed to support CAL FIRE's new C-130 Hercules air tankers. The base is also home to a CAL FIRE Hawk helicopter, making Ramona the state's 11th heli-attack base. Officials say the upgrades will help crews respond more quickly and more effectively to wildfires.
A secretive network of flights operating across the U.S. moving migrants from city to city.
Our team of investigators dives into what happens to ICE detainees between their arrest and their removal. That story is still ahead. Plus, an encounter with 2 other birds leaves one of Big Bear's famed eagles in need of care.
And a look at the festive fun popping up in downtown San Diego ahead of Comic-Con's annual return. That's after this.